is no spying on Americans. We don't have a domestic spying program. What we do have are some mechanisms where we can track a phone number or an email address that we know is connected to some sort of terrorist threat. There is no spying on Americans. We don't have a domestic spying program. What we do have are some mechanisms where we can track a phone number or an email address that we know is connected to some sort of terrorist threat.
You're a phony! Hey, this guy's a great big phony!
Did you know that the NSA has a data storage facility in Bluffdale, Utah that can hold 5 zettabytes of data? To give some context, 1 gigabyte holds 1 billion bytes. The average DVD holds about 4.7 gigabytes. 1 zettabyte holds approximately 931,322,574,615 gigabytes, or 909,494,701 terabytes of data, according to Melody Kramer from National Geographic. In terms of scaling, if the 11-ounce coffee on your desk equals 1 gigabyte, a zettabyte would have the same volume as the Great Wall of China. According to a graphic by Cisco, one may ask, what does one need with that much data storage? And to put it simply, the NSA collects and stores data from international, foreign, and domestic networks in data facilities like this. But it goes so much deeper than the statement alone. The reality is that these spy programs operate on a very fine line legally. The National Security Agency goes above the law by spying on its own citizens, prosecutes whistleblowers that attempt to shed light on government surveillance, and operates its own spy programs unconstitutionally. With a rapid increase in technology in our day-to-day lives, it's no surprise that the NSA has created ways to monitor its own citizens. But ironically, technology companies make this information more accessible because of added technology and smart devices. As time passes, this problem is not made any better considering technology will continue to evolve. Over the last decade, technology companies have upgraded their products to report data on its consumers, and this is where the privacy issues begin. According to Trevor Tim, a writer for The Guardian, technology can be a complete breach of privacy. But the potential for these privacy violations has only recently started reaching millions of homes. Samsung, after announcing a television that will listen to everything said in the room and in the fine print, literally warned people not to talk about sensitive information in front of it. While Samsung took a bunch of heat, a wide array of devices now act as all-seeing or all-listening devices, including other television models, Xbox Connect, Amazon, GM's OnStar program that tracks car owners' driving patterns, even a new Barbie that has the ability to spy on you. It listens to Barbie owners to respond, but also sends what it hears back to the mothership. Unfortunately, it isn't the corporations that have malevolent intent. Technology companies are using only spying for an economic and financial purpose. Although they are making personal privacy any easier, problems arise when anyone can use said technology to monitor the consumer, whether it be hacker or government entity. Then there are rampant security issues with the Internet of Things that allow hackers, whether they are criminal, government, or something in between, to access loads of data without any court order, like the creeps who are eavesdropping on baby monitors for new parents. Just a few weeks ago, a security researcher found that Google's Nest thermostats were leaking users' zip codes over the internet. There's for the Internet of Things called Shadan that allows users to easily search for unsecured webcams that are broadcasting from inside people's homes that without their knowledge. In 2013, the NSA experienced one of the most prolific leaks of the decade, when insider Edward Snowden released thousands of documents on its spying programs to the press.
I think that the public is owed an explanation of the motivations behind the people who make these disclosures that are outside of the democratic model. When you are subverting the power of government, that's a fundamentally dangerous thing to democracy. And if you do that in secret consistently, as the government does when it wants to benefit from a secret action that it took, it'll kind of give its officials a mandate to go, hey, tell the press about this thing and that thing, so the public is on our side.
One of the most interesting intelligence programs leaked in the documents was a spying software named KeyScore. According to the documents released by Snowden, KeyScore can monitor a user's online activity in real time, beyond emails. The KeyScore system allows an analyst to monitor a virtually unlimited array of other internet activities, including these within social media. An NSA tool called DNI Presenter, used to read the content of stored emails, also enables an analyst using KeyScore to read the content of Facebook chats or private messages. KeyScore allows its overseer to access a treasure trove of information by simply typing a personal email or other information in a simple screen. KeyScore, the document boasts, is the NSA's widest-reaching system developing intelligence for computer networks. What the agency calls digital network intelligence, one presentation claims that the programs cover nearly everything a typical user does on the internet, including the content of emails, websites visited, and searches, as well as the metadata. Metadata is data that gives information about other data. In regards of surveillance, metadata would include phone numbers, phone messages, social media, and emails, which is what this program utilizes. In the case of a tool called Weeping Angel for attacking Samsung smart TVs, WikiLeaks wrote, after investigation, Weeping Angel placed the target TV in a fake off mode, so that the owner falsely believes that the TV is off when it is on. Fake off mode on the TV operates as a bug, recording conversation in the room and send them over to the internet to the covert CIA server. The CIA reportedly also has studied whether it could infect vehicle control systems for cars and trucks, which WikiLeaks alleged could be used to conduct nearly undetectable assassinations. In conclusion, the NSA will essentially store this data, and other agencies such as the FBI, DEA, and other government entities to access this information. This in turn allows someone to be essentially searched without a warrant or probable cause, and one could be charged with a crime just of basic metadata.
5 years in jail, U.S. soldier Bradley Manning showed no emotion as the verdict was read out, according to reporters in the public gallery. The 25-year-old responsible for one of the largest ever leaks of top-secret files will have his time behind bars reduced to reflect time already served, plus 112 days. He will also be dishonorably discharged from the military, relinquishing pay and allowances. The sentence is more lenient than the 60 years demanded by the prosecution. He was charged on 20 counts, including espionage and theft of 700,000 classified documents handed to the whistleblowing website WikiLeaks in 2010. As Manning left court, groups of his supporters shouted, "We'll keep fighting for you, Bradley." The soldier has been labeled a hero by rights groups, including Amnesty and...
One may ask that what crimes a person might commit to have endured such harsh punishment: murder, terrorism, or fraud? Not even close. Chelsea Manning was an army recruit who leaked documents to WikiLeaks that revealed many shocking revelations in the Middle East. Manning was charged with many different charges, including aiding the enemy and 6 counts of espionage. Espionage, the government's charge of spying on the federal government and sharing state secrets to a foreign country. Among popular whistleblowers in the past decade like Julian Assange, Edward Snowden, and Chelsea Manning, this was a typical charge for sharing the truth to the public. This is very contradictory to an act that was passed in the year 1989, allowing federal employees to open up and not receive sentencing or punishment for it. The Whistleblower Protection Act of 1989 is a law that protects federal government employees in the United States from retaliatory action for voluntarily disclosing information about dishonest or illegal activities occurring in a government organization. In 2010, a senior executive for the National Security Agency, Thomas Drake, leaked classified documents to a reporter in the Baltimore Sun.
Government has this extraordinarily powerful digital microscope. And with this microscope, they get to go in and look at your life from the inside out over many years. What will they find out? That's what happened to me. It wasn't unusual at all to see 2 FBI cars parked down at the end, or 1 or 2 cars unmarked parked at the end of my street. They later told me in very antiseptic language, we knew when you left in the morning, we knew when you arrived, we knew where you stopped when you shopped. We knew everywhere you went, Mr. Drake. Many people who used to work with me were themselves interrogated by virtue of their association. Were told in no uncertain terms, formally, if you have any contact with Mr. Drake in any manner whatsoever, you jeopardize your ability to remain employed by us.
Thomas was an advocate for the data mining program Thin Thread over its more expensive Trailblazer due to the ability to encrypt United States citizens' information. Trailblazer was allowed government agencies to monitor civilizations on domestic networks, which is why Thomas Drake took things into his own hands, and Thomas Drake was indicted on 10 different charges, many of which would fall under the espionage clause. Are we seeing a common trend here? Another member of the organization, William Binney, a member of the NSA since 1970, was another whistleblower who was targeted for spreading information to news media, as well as Binney claims that the NSA buried key information that would have prevented 9/11. The bulk collection of data is illegal and unconstitutional. Terrorism prevention is ineffective due to the bulk data collection. According to Binney, electronic intelligence gathering is being used to covert law enforcement, political control, and industrial espionage. Both in and beyond the U.S., Bill Binney was cleared of all charges in this circumstance through 3 government interviews. Although in July 2007, Binney's house was raided by 12 armed FBI agents in which they confiscated his computer, disks, and personal and business records. Both Bill Binney and Thomas Drake were huge advocates for the Thin Thread surveillance program over the massively more expensive Trailblazer. Trailblazer allowed the government to monitor domestic networks, unlike Thin Thread, who domestic networks encrypted. Based on the information given here, the government does not like when people say yes and move on. Basically, in government organizations, spreading the truth to the people, which is the true power of the country, will often result in serious prison time and borderline torture. The Whistleblowers Protection Act of 1989 should be protecting these federal employees from receiving charges for simply spreading factual information. The idea that government agencies can supersede a government-mandated act just simply because it wanted to. It really shows the power dynamic the government agencies possess over a general population and the reality of the world we live in. According to the ACLU.com, under Section 702 of the Foreign Intelligence Surveillance Act, the U.S. government engages in mass warrantless surveillance of Americans and foreigners, phone calls, text messages, and emails. Information collected under the law without a warrant can be used to prosecute and imprison people, even for crimes that have nothing to do with national security. Ultimately, this program should be fundamentally illegal in regard to the Constitution. Unreasonable search and seizure, unfortunately due to the consequences of 9/11, Bush administration essentially wrote a loophole into law allowing such action to occur. As Section 702 of the FISA agreement is written, these government agencies cannot spy on Americans. The law gives the intelligence organizations wiggle room to target foreign intelligence in ways that inherently and intentionally sweep in domestic communication. Despite the United States making itself a free democracy, the reality is that by peeking behind the curtains shows information relaying the opposite. The rapid increase of technology usage and the more time that passes the United States in operating more and more like a police state. According to SecurityDegreeHub.com, the definition of a police state is a totalitarian state controlled by a political police force that secretly supervises the citizens' activities. In reality, the United States has become a managed democracy, a political form in which governments are legitimated by elections but have learned to control secretly. It's publicly known that corporations are true leaders in our country. Corporations run the government by political contributions and lobbying. Ultimately, it has come to the point where our personal data is very valuable. So in turn, it has become our personal responsibility to stay anonymous online. In 2019, we live in a world where we can be charged with a crime based of data collection without any form of warrant or probable cause, despite the government walking on a very thin line legally with a spying program, still continues to collect bulk information on its own citizens. Our online information has become so valuable to intelligence agencies that this technology is constantly innovated to collect more. Federal employees simply trying to bring awareness to the government population can receive hefty sentences for their actions. As we've seen with people like Chelsea Manning, Edward Snowden, and Thomas Drake, and Bill Binney, the government has a no-tolerance policy for talking openly about government affairs. There is legalization that should protect these federal agents from receiving punishment for talking to media organizations. Simply, the government operates around it. Ultimately, this spying program is breaching on our right as American citizens, and the problem is that the government entities feel as if they can operate above the law. It has gotten to the point where if privacy is priority, one must take action into their own hands. Simply warrantless spying and surveillance is an early warning to what our society and potentially world could become if we don't take action. Because at the end of the day, with what is supposed to be a free democracy, the people should have most of the power.